definitely looking forward to this best of 5 series, also for
Mhm.
$10. And before we get right into things, I just want to thank you guys all today for being here and choosing Team Gravity Fight Night. You always have a lot of options in viewing StarCraft, and choosing us, you've made the right decision. So we thank you for it. Please follow us here at Team Gravity on Hitbox. If you are enjoying this series, we put this on every week for you guys. Team Gravity Fight Night. We're in week 10 now, so we have no signs. We're showing no signs of stopping. I'll tell you that much. And if you're watching this through Team Liquid, make the right decision too. Jump over here to hitbox.tv/Team Gravity, where you can participate in the chat. A lot of cool
Mhm.
things going on there. And you can subscribe for just $5 a month. But the best part about it is, other than supporting us, is you get a free $5 gift certificate to G2A.com. That promotion is still going
Mm.
on. And basically, you're immediately getting back your value in terms of the subscription.
Indeed, and be sure to also follow the channel. You'll get notifications about whenever Team Gravity Fight Night goes live. But of course, we are live right now, and so is the game. Let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players in game number 1. As we spawn down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, Catalina. It is the red Protoss player representing Team Fnatic. It's Harstem.
I'm digging that picture. That
I
that
was about to say his decal is literally just living up to the name Selfie King.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, he just looks so boss. There you go. Nice. Another zoom in. Thank you very much,
Mm.
by the way, our
Is that a
observer,
bucket
Kieran.
on his head? Is that a bucket on
it
his head?
it is. Yeah, it is.
Wow. Such class, such style, setting trends in fashion worldwide. But his opponent, man, who is it, Droopy?
Oh man, it is our replacement player for Nurchio, but man, this is still a great player in his teammate, and so nonetheless, my excitement level is still where it needs to be here, guys. It is the Blue Zerg in the 9 o'clock position, and he is now the newest member of the Fight Night crew. It is Bly.
Oh, baby, Droopy. You know what I love? You know what kind of Protoss I am in love with? Kind of Protoss that opens up Forge first.
Nice
My
little
favorite
throwback,
kind of
huh?
Protoss. My favorite kind of Protoss. Unfortunately for him, it was spawning pool first, and the Overlord is going to see the Forge fairly early on. So I don't think that Arslan will be able to accomplish a whole lot over here unless he just decides to go all in on it. Unless Bly just doesn't react to it, but probably won't work out too well. But here's the thing about it. Remember how we talked about how this is not a ladder game? This is a best of 5 series. Making a maneuver and trying something out one game helps benefit you later on. Well, this is one of those things where you go Forge first once, and every single game for the rest of the series, your opponent has got to think, if I go Hatch first, he could have gone Forge first again. Because he did this before, and I got to be careful about that, because I could just end up losing to a cannon rush. So you just get paranoid about that. Well, I would not be surprised to see Bly and almost the rest of the entire series go for a spawning pool first now.
Yeah, there's just so many, there's multiple layers of mind games being played here. Like you can't just think of these players as, oh, he just wants to open a certain way. There's implications on a series, and these players are actively thinking about that. They're just so experienced. They take part in a lot of these kinds of show matches or tournaments and stuff. So really, to them, they're thinking long term as well as short term in the kinds of things that they do.
Yeah, and I know one thing that a lot of Zerg players like to do, especially like a 3 hatch before pool or something, that becomes much more difficult to do if you're anticipating a possibility of a Forge versus one. We're going to get a small little pause over here from Harstem, as hopefully he gets whatever issues are popping up for him resolved, but I'm very interested to see where this game is going to go from here. It's a very small kind of disadvantage that Harstem goes to the Forge first, ends up not being able to do a whole lot, but that Forge is still useful for trying to put on some kind of 2-base pressure. You can start chrono boosting out an upgrade or something, and we're going to be seeing what Harstem decides to do with that early gas after he gets up the Cybernetics core and starts his Mothership core.
Yep, and if he decides to take the bottom 2 gases as well, that's going to
Mm.
be a huge clue as to if he's going to go for some kind of tier 2 push or if he's going to just make it mostly gateway units. We'll see. as far as things go for Bly, he's going to actually do a little bit of scouting himself with these slowlings, but they're not going to get much further into this natural, and they're unnecessarily dying to
Oh,
this cannon right now. But they will snipe off a probe, which is, you know, something to hang his hat on. But Bly isn't going to be able to get much further in.
yeah, 6 Zerglings actually enough to run past your opponent's cannon. And if your opponent's making a sentry to start off with, you can actually keep those Zerglings alive for quite a bit of time. So I think it was a kind of nice maneuver. It was a nice idea by Bly, but Harstem was very much prepared for that, throwing down the pylon to block those Zerglings, and honestly, it worked out quite well for him.
Now, it looks like there's a Stargate here for Harstem. And the question is, will Bly be able to see it if he decides to come back up for a split second with the Lings, if he decides to move that Overlord here on the left? But without seeing it, Bly isn't going to be putting down the spores that he will need or cranking out additional queens that he's going to need. So we'll
I
see.
think
It's
he
going to
may
be
have
an.
seen it already, though, right? With
Did
the
he?
Zerglings, and I think he
And
pops
now
back
he's.
up. He pops back up, and I think he confirms like, okay, you didn't like cancel the Stargate or do anything tricky like that. But yeah,
Mhm.
he does start the Spore Callers now.
Okay. Yeah, so it's going to be an Oracle coming out, and maybe
Mhm.
just popping back up will allow him to see exactly what unit's coming out of that Stargate. It is the only production structure in all of StarCraft that shows you what unit's being made, right? So if he
Yeah.
sees that it's not a Phoenix, then he'll know that he needs to defend against an Oracle harassment.
Yeah, I wish more structures did that. Like, wouldn't it be cool if when a factory is building a Thor, like I don't know, you could see hints of a Thor somehow. I don't even know. Like maybe the roof of the factory is open and you can see the Thor like being built inside or like a siege tank. That'd be pretty cool.
Well, if you, I don't know if you watch Carbot, but you have you seen that episode where the Thor just sort of
Yeah, the Thor's
destroys
just
the
like,
factory?
oh yeah, it's like way too big to actually be
I
built
know.
in a factory.
I know. So a little bit of humor there on the part of Carbot. But yeah, if that could happen to a factory, the factory's destroyed after a Thor comes out.
Mm.
As a Protoss player, I'd like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if Terran players had to rebuild their factory every time a Thor popped out. Uh,
uh,
well, we don't actually have Terrans in this game right now, guys, so we'll talk a bit about this Oracle harassment that's going to be coming in. The 2 Oracles coming in for Harstem, so he doesn't go in with just a single one. He's going to be able to do some nice damage over here, picks off a couple of the drones, but honestly, not a whole lot of damage happening just yet. He's killed off 2 drones. It's not really a big amount of damage for 2 Oracles.
no, it's hard to micro around the Spore as well as a Queen, right?
Ooh.
That's where it
Yeah.
gets tricky. But hey, he did snipe off those 2 transferring drones to that third, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, he's forcing spores out. He's forcing some replacement drones. There's damage done in those aspects as well.
Yeah.
And then he's getting some scouting done too. He knows what his opponent's getting with those oracles just flying it which way, every way. And it's going to be Hydras coming out here for Bly. He's going to go for that Hydra speed as well, the muscular augments. On the other hand, sorry, Harstem, that is. Bly, on the other hand, is going to start transitioning a Robo here,
Oh.
but he's still utilizing that Stargate to make a Void Ray.
Yeah, this 4th expansion from Bly is a really, really smart play because he knows that Harstem invested into this early Stargate into these Oracles. So as long as he defends against the Oracles, make sure he doesn't take too much damage over there. I mean, there's not really a whole lot Harstem can do about this early 4th expansion, but it's more important to say that Harstem hasn't seen the 4th expansion, and I don't know if he was expecting it. He's eventually going to see it with how these Oracles are rallied to move around right now, but the Hydras are now moving out, and these Oracles may even actually decide to pull back relatively soon if he sees this Hydras in time.
Well, he is going to spot the 4th, but what about the Hydra timing that is coming for him? Well, we see Harstem basically going for a lot of tech at once here. He doesn't really have many units other than these sentries, but while they can hold down the fort at the natural, what about the 3rd? Well, we are going to see Photon Overcharge activated. There are 3 cannons here, which will certainly help out. Now, Bly testing the waters at that natural immediately gets force fielded out.
Yeah, this is a very awkward defense for any Protoss player, defending your natural and your 3rd when the Hydras are able to get into that position, but Harstem is doing a fantastic job with it so far. I mean, the Photon Overcharge plus the cannons and even just a couple of Zealots or whatever Warpins he can afford to do with that 3rd, that's actually enough to deal with this army, at least buy enough time for the Sentries and the Stalkers to get over to the low ground. And basically at that point, Bly would just get sandwiched, so Bly's having a really difficult time finding a good angle to engage over here. And oh my god, his response! Go for a fifth expansion. What are we seeing?
Oh man. What we're seeing, I guess, is Bly thinking, okay, I'm not doing damage necessarily, but I am containing, so maybe I'll just take a fifth base. And you know what? He's looking good on the drone count too, 85 guys, I might want to
Yeah.
say. And well, Nuka here is just gonna continue to rely on these oracles here to try to do damage. Will they pick off that
Oh
queen?
my
Looks like they're
God.
really close. Microing to keep them alive against the spore. They do take out the queen. Oh, but mutas are out now, and that is going to make things tougher for these oracles to do further damage.
Oh yeah, those oracles are absolutely dead if Bly decided to go after them, but he didn't. So they're gonna stick around for a little bit longer. But here's a really interesting thing about how this actually ends up playing out. The Mutalisks, sure, there's a couple stalkers, there's some sentries in the mix for Harstem, but there's not exactly a lot of cannons in the main base or even in the natural expansion. These Mutalisks are gonna keep Harstem back for a good bit of time. There's even a couple, like a Phoenix or two, trying to be made, but it's about the fact that Bly is buying himself time. And he's got a fifth expansion. He's already got the drone count to really make use of those 5 bases. But the longer he delays, as long as he doesn't lose too many of his mutals too quickly, he is honestly going to just be able to have the sickest economy possible. The Hydros and Zergans now coming in to just even up the economy even more for him.
Yeah, I think looking at Harstem's build here, he's just done a little too much too soon. He went with the robo transition. Now that's not going to be as effective here with the mutas out. Then he tries to add on void race to his army, just spreading himself thin here with the economy that he does have, and now it's not going to be much with that third just being taken out.
Third expansion goes down. Mutalisks and Hydros are going to get cleaned up. The Mutalisks, I don't know if they actually need to be engaging over here, but here's the thing. If Bly trades evenly with Harstem, he is drastically far ahead because he has 2 additional bases, or sorry, now 3 additional
Three.
bases over Harstem since the third expansion got taken out. Honestly, at this point, Harstem has to make the decision, like, do I go for the big all-in or do I defend my third? But here's the thing, he doesn't know about that fifth expansion. He thinks that, oh, I'm a bit further behind because Bly has that fourth expansion up. I got to be a little bit careful about how I handle this. Even if he scouts out that third, he may actually scout it out and say, "Oh, you don't really have that many drones over there. You don't really seem like you were pretty committed to that attack." He may not realize just how far ahead Bly is actually on that gas count.
Yep, and that is a lot of mutas, but there's a lot more Phoenix now than there were before, so
Yeah.
these mutas are going to have to back off here and will die. Quite a few of them in the process. Phoenix are faster than mutas. They can't quite escape easily. Oh, but Bly just turn
Ooh.
around quickly. Snipe a few Phoenix there. Very nicely done.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
getting some
very difficult
retribution.
for Micro without that
Yes.
Phoenix upgrade from the Fleet Beacon, which I don't think has actually finished yet. He has the Fleet Beacon, but I don't think that they actually have the range upgrade yet. No, they do actually. They're
Oh, you
sitting at
got it.
7 range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're
Even
seeing
still.
Bly start adding on some corruptors now, so he's transitioning fully almost to a Sky Zerg army. Not something we see very often, but of course, corruptors help out greatly against Phoenix. They are armored, so they can take a lot more shots, absorb a lot more of those Phoenix hits before they go down. But could we just be seeing Muta Corruptor against this?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that some players have tried to do against a Protoss player, and sometimes it can work out. It very much comes down to the positioning, but I don't know if the Corruptor count is where it needs to be just yet. It's starting to get up there, but it really does need to be a fairly high number to make sure those Mutalisks can avoid those Phoenixes. But right now, the Mutalisks, they're just... What?
Well, the Zerglings were pummeling all those units on the ground.
Yeah.
And, the Stalkers had to target fire those Corruptors and the Mutas, really. Because if you just A-move, then they're going to just target
Yeah.
fire those Zerglings, right? So that
Yeah,
whole
that's true.
combination there, too much for Harstem to handle, and there's a GG. So game one goes to Bly.
Yeah, well executed by Black. I mean, I've got to say, he definitely was ahead. I was surprised that Harstem felt like his opponent was that far ahead. Just because, like, I think that Harstem still didn't know about the fifth expansion. Maybe he had, like, an inkling or an idea that, hey, maybe my opponent's doing
Yeah.
this because where is he getting all these units from? But I thought it was pretty interesting, like, how that ended up going. But you're right, the Zerglings definitely were causing a lot of problems. Like, the Mutals were getting a lot of free shots off where they were just kind of staying alive because they aren't exactly that priority attack target for the
Yeah.
Stalkers. And,
Yeah.
why? Yeah.
I think too, like Harstem just lost so much. He lost that third. He's lost a lot of
Yeah.
probes here and there. he did
That's
no
true.
damage to Bly the whole game. So even if he doesn't see that fifth, he's like, crap,
Yeah.
I haven't killed anything of this
Hmm.
guy. Even if I can survive here, I'm moving into the next phase of the game with a lot less.
Right.
Like at that
Hmm.
point, it's just a
Yeah.
little too far gone.
Well, Harstem's got to come up with some sort of game plan for game number two. I don't know if it's just scouting information or if it's honestly just opening up a little bit more aggressively. Because I think the Oracle opening versus what Bly did, Bly actually had a really, really nice reaction to it. I really liked Bly's reaction to it. Just take your fourth, make sure that you don't take too much damage from the oracles. Like make sure you just don't die to the oracle harassment. And
Mhm.
basically you end up way further ahead because your opponent can't do much when they just open up oracles. They've invested in the Stargate, they've invested into those two oracles, and they're not getting a robo. They're not getting up the faster colossus. They're not getting up temple archives or fast upgrades or a large number of gateways. They're invested into that early tech to try and do light pressure. And oracles don't do too much versus building hatcheries.
Yeah, I would say so. Uh, Looking at the chat, it appears that subs can post GIFs now because Tibbs87 here, one of our subscribers, posted a picture. So I guess
Indeed.
that feature has been fixed. So if you guys haven't subscribed and you're jealous of this, I think now's a good time to get in on it. You're still going to get that G2A gift certificate for $5, and that can contribute to your new Smurf account on StarCraft. So I don't
There
know,
you
just a
go.
thought.
Yeah, everybody loves a good Smurf. I know that Harstem loves his Smurf account, Nuka Nuka,
Yeah,
apparently.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, guys,
Even though
we're
he
gonna be
can't nuke,
jumping.
no nukes for
Even
him.
though he cannot nuke. It's the mind game, man. Actually, if you ever ladders on random on this account, you can just be like, "Yeah, I'm Terran. I'm gonna nuke you." But anyways, guys, we're gonna be jumping to game number two as we spawn down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. Overgrowth, a very tried and true map. It's gonna be the orange Protoss player sitting down 0-1. It is Fnatic Gaming's Hearthstone. We're in that Fnatic orange.
That is perfectly done, isn't it?
I want to say it's intentional, but I'm a little bit biased because I don't usually have that much faith in players to intentionally do that.
Well, we'll see about that. Over here on the top right-hand corner, this player has no interest in representing his team's colors. No, I'm sure that's not the case. But he did choose the standard blue because it is always supposed to be blue versus red, right? And he is a player for Acer, currently up 1-0. It is the Zerg Bly.
Yeah, man. Where is that Acer green from Bly? I gotta message him about that. Oh. All right. Well, we got a gateway opening from Harstem.
Yep. Yeah,
Bit of a
I think that Forge opening last game kind of put him behind a bit. I mean, it's
That's
it's
true. Yeah.
it's old school. It's considered old school and deprecated for a reason, and it's that it
Hmm.
slows down your tech. You're starting your
Yeah.
gateway afterwards as your second
Hmm.
structure. Actually, no, not even if you go for the Forge Fast Expand. So it's even later than that. So
Hmm.
it ends up being really late before you can get your Stargate up or your Warp
Yeah.
Gate tech out. Which means that, for instance, Bly may not have had as easy a time defending that Oracle opening had the Oracle come sooner.
Most definitely. I mean, StarCraft is a game of kind of about escalation. I mean, small things and small advantages you get in the early game make a bigger and bigger difference as the game goes on. Those advantages carry out to be bigger and bigger because you use that advantage to get another advantage, and then you're even further ahead. But Gateway expansion again, this game. I want to note, last game, Bly did go for the gasless style for quite a bit of time. And we'll see if he decides to do the similar thing this time. He's actually going for just 4 Zerglings this time, so not going to do that cute 6 Zergling poke as he did in the last game.
Hmm.
But only time will tell what he's
Right.
actually up to.
Looks like Bly is going to go scout out that third first, make sure that Nuka Nuka isn't doing something
Mhm.
sneaky. And we're going to have that Nexus now go down. So this Gateway Expand did come after the Cybernetics core finished as well. So the Nexus is a little bit later, but we have Warp Gate starting sooner as a result and being chronoed as well, something that Bly has
Mm.
witnessed with that Overlord. So could we be seeing a 2-base gateway timing here from Harstem?
It is certainly a possibility. We'll end up seeing whether or not he just has to lay down 2 or 3 gateways over here with the gateway expand. If you go up to 4 gateways, there's a really good chance you're going to be putting on a heavy amount of pressure. You got 2 gateways going down and a very interesting wall up over here. You can plant down a pylon and make it look a little bit more normal, but there's a very good chance we're going to be seeing that 3rd gateway. There it is. 4 gateways down.
And all within the vision of Bly as well. He's not trying to hide it. He's going to be testing Bly here. And about this wall, it is kind of odd, the pylon being in front, the Artosis pylon that is. But either way, it's going to be the first pressure is going to come from Harstem here anyhow.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Probe and Zealot already moving their way across the map, but Bly has spotted the probe and even sees the pylon going down. This is actually a pretty big deal. If he can pick off that probe, if he kills off that probe, that puts a huge hamper on this push.
yeah, you can't get an even further forward pylon, and I think this probe, it's so close. These Zerglings are giving chase. They don't have speed only being started right now, and there's also a Roach Warren in response to the upcoming 4-gate timing here. This probe, though, even if it doesn't die, which it does, it already came all the way back home, so gonna make it harder to get up that second proxy pylon.
Exactly. It's not going to be that second proxy pylon. Now, Hearthstone can still make this work, but as you said, the Roach Warren is going to be finishing up relatively soon. He's going to have the Roaches out for probably the 2nd or 3rd warp-in round of these Zealots. So we'll see how much damage Hearthstone can do until that point, because once the Roaches are out, this becomes a whole different ballgame to actually do damage with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with mostly Zealots right now, oh my gosh, he's about to take out that Queen from Bly running it, but it's going to get caught. There's just no way it can escape. And that 3rd now is actually in danger. I don't know if the Roaches are going to come in time. I have a feeling they won't.
Yeah. I mean, Harstem, why wouldn't he just, like, right-click it at this point, even if the Roaches did come out? 3rd expansion, going to be falling. Now, as a Zerg player, Bly is obviously not feeling good about the situation, but I wouldn't say he's dead in the water just yet. It's a 4-gate aggression, is fairly committed aggression from Harstem, but not killing off almost any of the Zealots, that does hurt quite a bit for Bly.
Yeah, and you know what? Bly not losing any of the Zealots just yet. Well, now he's... Oh, no, he keeps that one alive. Very well, Micro. And to finish my point, by not losing many of these units, he doesn't have to constantly warp in nonstop. He can actually put some of those minerals into probes. He's still making probes 2 at a time right now, despite putting on this 4-gate pressure. So he's getting well ahead in the worker supply right now, 40 to 30.
Oh, but the Zergling run by actually managed to pick off that forward pylon. Oh my god, Droopy, it's the pylon, the weird wall causes some problems. Zergling's running rampant in the natural, but as soon as the recall happens, they just go over to the main base. There's no stalkers, there's no sentries with a lot of energy left over right now. They're doing a massive amount of damage.
Oh man, just let his guard down for a split second, and now he has a huge mess he needs to deal with here with these Lings getting into that natural. And yeah, again, the weird wall in, the pylon placement rears its ugly head here. No reinforcements are able to be warped in. That's why we see Harstem now having to float 500 minerals and pulling his probes here, ceding whatever lead he had in workers just because of this run by.
Well, Droopy, I've got to say, losing 16 workers is less than ideal for Harstem. Bly is going to be able to retake this 3rd expansion, and he's going to be feeling pretty good, honestly. This is kind of... Honestly, if I had to pinpoint where I felt like this game is, because they both delayed their tech for a good bit of time, it's kind of just like it was maybe where it'd normally be around like the 8-minute mark, except Bly is a little bit further ahead on workers than I think he normally would be. And he's also going for Roach Burrow. He's going to have whatever units he wants around to defend against any kind of additional push that Harstem wants to push out with. And Harstem's kind of committed to just saying, like, okay, I got to take a 3rd. I've got to drag this game out a little bit longer and try and get up some tech to make sure I don't die to some kind of big Roach attack.
Yeah, you want to talk about tech. There virtually is none for Harstem here. It's all gateway units.
Yeah.
And really, just no Robo. He's starting to get Twilight now, which he desperately could use. But you look at Bly, he's got his lair. Like you said, he's getting his burrow. He's starting that Roach speed. This is the unit composition he's going to utilize in that mid game. But as far as for Harstem, he's still working on his. But he might push out here, though, to try to limit the ability of Bly to get ahead here, because he is on 3 bases right now. 3 base injects, he's gonna start skyrocketing in supply if Harstem cannot do something with this push.
Yep, he's moving out. He's hallucinating some Phoenix, and does he have a probe with the army? I don't actually see any reinforcement. Like, there's no reinforcement potential. He doesn't have a probe. He doesn't have a warp prism. I think this is just going to be to try and force out units, which I mean, he's done a good job of. Bly does make a lot of roaches in response to this, but I don't know if that's enough.
Well, you know
Because I
what?
mean, hmm,
Well, see, here's the thing, right? He may have, it may seem like he was forced to make those roaches. Perhaps he was just gearing up for a timing anyway. I mean,
yeah,
he's
that's the
got the
thing.
upgrades. They just finished up speed, burrow. Maybe this is what he wanted to do all along. Let's see if it
Oh,
works for him.
oh, there's no observer out right now, and Burrow, I think, is finished up now. He can actually start to really abuse this. He's going after the Zealot, trying to just go for an opportunity to move into the natural expansion. You can see Harstem, he's a little bit wary because he's afraid that there's going to be the third expansion, that there's going to be another like Zergling run by or something over there. The Roach is also going to be able to exploit that. Burrow, 3 gateways get depowered. That's actually a huge deal right now.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we need to see Harstem warp out some reinforcements to help him. He's not getting them when his stuff is unpowered. He is able to work those 2 gateways once more. But Bly, on the other hand, even if he can't kill off a Nexus or
What?
something major,
What?
oh, wow.
Nidus Worm going down. Okay. Nidus Worm in the main base. How many units are loaded up into the Nidus Worm? And is Harstem going to be able to do anything about it? I don't think any units are loaded up in there. Okay, they're finally starting to load up. He's going to be able to unload a couple of roaches in the main base. This is like a Nidus Worm harassment in the main right now.
Oh, man, and Harstem heard,
Oh.
I don't know if he heard the noise, but to be honest with you, he just didn't have the units to spare to bring them in there anyways. So with the Nidus Worm coughing up the roaches, it's a GG.
Wow. And Bly taking game number 2. Sitting one time, once more. Match point immediately right off the gate.
Oh, man. That's rough. And you know, that gateway timing worked out so well. It did so much damage taking out that third. But then that run by, like, just one mistake of letting those
Oh.
lings in changed everything. Like, out of those 2 big engagements, Harstem was behind by 15 workers and down a
Yep.
base. Like, it's just some things in this in
It's not.
StarCraft. Gosh.
It's like it's the run by, but I
Yeah.
want to go back to it because Harstem had a sentry at the wall in. He
Yeah.
was ready for a Zergling run by.
Yeah.
What he wasn't ready for is the pylon, that outward facing pylon that you were saying like was a bit more
Yes.
exposed. That honestly, that pylon cost Harstem the game.
Yep.
But you know, with that being said, we're gonna be jumping into the next game. I think that we may actually just be figuring out what the next map is and everything. But Droopy, why don't you tell people a little bit about Hitbox? I think that I need to talk to Harstem about something real quickly.
All right. Well, you guys already know you're watching this on Hitbox.tv. They are sponsoring these show matches that we've been having for every week now for the last couple months. And we are looking to do this for the rest of the year. Every week. I mean, I may not always be here. Fear Dragon may not always be here. But Team Gravity and Hitbox will always bring to you this amazing content. We've had some amazing players here on Team Gravity Fight Night, man. If you look at today's lineup, it's already pretty strong, but we've had so many great players. We've even had Rain, guys. We've even had Supernova twice, Patience, Hydra. Who else? I can't even remember all of these big name players from South Korea. Really, you're getting some fantastic content here. So we hope you are enjoying it. If you have any sort of suggestions or what kind of players you'd like to see, man, please let us know in the chat. We are open to suggestions. Please tweet at us, by the way, at Team Grav is our Twitter, and follow us there. And just let us know what kind of stuff you want to see. And we'd appreciate any of your support, too, by following us here on hitbox.tv, as well as if you can subscribe, get in on this amazing chat going on here. All these subscribers for, I think this is the first time they're able to start posting GIFs as well. It used to only be mods, but this is something you can do here that you can do on a competing streaming service to be left unnamed.
Indeed. But yeah, guys, we are going to be jumping into the next game. Uh, actually, one second. There is a chance that we may have to restart the stream. We'll have to double check.
Hmm? Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah. Well,
Apologize.
it's
It's
just
like adminning stuff going on and everything. It's like the weird thing, and I'll tell you, like, this is a really weird thing because we'll have people who are adminning the event, handling map picks and bans and everything. But I'll tell you, Droopy, I know you know this pain too. Um, like players, they'll like ask the casters like to admin their event. They'll be like,
yeah.
what they'll be like, "Oh, what's the next what's like the map pool?" Or, "Oh, can is this person DQ'd? Like they haven't been here for 5 minutes." And they'll like PM specifically the caster. They won't ask in like a general chat. Um, but they'll like ask the caster like, I'm just a caster, man. I don't know. I'm not adminning."
You bring up a good point because while we are the visible faces you see, if like literally on the stream, there are actually a lot of people who are behind this. I already mentioned Hitbox, but we have a great management team here at Team Gravity who organizes these events. So big props to them, as well as our very silent observer. I mean, as awesome as Fear Dragon and I are, we're not controlling the camera. We're not controlling the production, the player cards, and all those things. That's all from Curran, our amazing observer, formerly with IVD. So if you guys looking for somebody to help out with production or just making life easy for casters, man, Curran's a great guy to do that. But it looks like we're going to be able to move on to game number 3 now. Finally, the map of
Yep.
choice appears to be Deadwing LE.
Hmm. Yeah, and Deadwing gonna be a pretty interesting map. I want to note this is Harstem's choice, and you know what? Considering how those past couple of games are gone, getting a third expansion is going to be very important for Harstem. And
Yes.
this is the map you pick to take a third expansion on. This is the map you pick to take a fourth expansion on. I don't know
Yeah.
about fifth expansion, but it's the map you pick to take 4 bases pretty safely.
Yeah, and that's of course because of the way everything's arranged. You have really only
Hmm.
one major choke point to defend. Sure, there are those rocks in the back, but without a Terran here, you don't have that threat of the sneaky tank like just firing away at your natural behind the rocks. And when it comes to Toss versus Zerg, that's not a great choke point for someone to be the aggressor fighting in. So really, like you said, Deadwing LE is the macro map of all macro maps.
Indeed. So we'll see how well it works out. Of course, it is important to note where they end up spawning, whether it's cross spawn or horizontal. Sorry, not horizontal. There is no horizontal spawn on this map, but vertical spawns can also affect the way that this actual series will end up playing out. I know that I'm not gonna lie, I have seen Swarm host a decent bit on this map as well, just because of the nature of having a very, very big, long late game macro map, but we'll end up seeing if it actually ends up coming into fruition as we spawn to the game and introduce the players. Spawning up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, representing Team Acer, currently sitting up 2-0, and at match point, it is Acer Gaming's Bly.
And we do have on the vertical spawning position, the bottom right-hand side of Deadwing LE. It is our player currently down 0-2. It is do or die here in the match point game number 3. It is Fnatic's last hope. Their last remaining StarCraft 2 player, the Orange Protoss. It is Harstem. And I'm looking at this poll here, Fear Dragon. Despite being down 0-2,
Wow.
69.2% of the viewers think that Harstem is going to win the series.
Well, I've got to say, Bly has definitely been dominating this series so far. But it's important to remember that when we're talking about polls, we're talking about, in a way, social media. And when we're talking about social media, we're talking about Twitter hashtags. And when we're talking about Twitter hashtags, we're asking which Twitter hashtag is stronger, Bly on Fire or Year of Harstem? And I think that the audience has spoken. They believe in Year of Harstem.
That I can understand. Let's see
It's
if
only
Harstem...
logical, Jerby. It's only
Yes.
logical.
I mean, It's all the rationale all checks out, and perhaps Harstem here will do his fan base proud in coming back here. We've seen it before on Fight Night. Down 2-0, players can pull out the craziest stuff, especially on maps like this one. We're gonna have a scout move out here for Harstem as he is trying to work out a gateway expansion once more.
Yep, gateway expansion, and this should. Here's actually the kind of interesting thing: if your opponent is expecting the game to be this kind of macro map like Deadwing, you anticipate it being a fairly macro-oriented map, you can be a little bit more aware. Like, I mean, you can do some nice damage with some big aggression. You can go for something like the 4-gate aggression, and if your opponent's they're playing it a little bit too a little bit too greedy, you can just outright win the game there, and that may be an option for Harstem. Maybe he doesn't have to play this out to a big 3-base or 4-base end up game, but although I would really like to see him kind of play it out a little bit later. That's the one thing we haven't seen much out of Harstem, is playing it out to the later stages of the game with like light bits of pressure. Maybe not like Oracle pressure, maybe some light gateway pressure, force out some units, and just continue on to 3-4 base play.
Yeah, I mean, and that combined with not letting Zerglings get into your base, that also
That
helps.
combined with that, yeah. That is a rather helpful thing to do.
Well, that said, we are going to have some Zerglings coming into the base of Harstem right now. The initial sixlings, the initial sixlings out for Bly, but they are slow. Speed is being skipped once again by the player from Acer, and just the existence of the Zealot plus the Mothership Core is enough to basically tell these lings to go home. We do have the natural finished up here with the Queen out. Bly just going to start working on droning here, and curious to see when he'll take his third. It is 5 minutes yet. Oh, and I guess he didn't skip gas. He has been mining it.
He went gas this game. He's got one guy left on gas. No, it's totally fine. Got that one guy in gas, and that's kind of important to note because that means that he wants to get up the eventual lair tech and get eventually ready for that kind of teching up, but probably going to be grabbing that third around 6 minutes or so. In the meanwhile, Harstem only has one gas geyser in his main base. And we're approaching the 6-minute mark. This is 6-minute mark. If you're going for, like, say, a tech play, that's when you start thinking about grabbing gas geysers 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So this is looking to be I want to say either a really fast third, or based on the fact that there are now 4 gateways out, 4-gate aggression.
Yeah. The 3 gateways just finished up, as is Warp Gate now. And you know what? It worked so well last game. Why not do it once more? I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The only thing he needs to fix is not letting Zerglings in. But beyond that, he can look to do some good damage here. Now, the thing, though, is that Bly this time around has not taken a third base. He's putting resources into lings here to defend. His speed is about to finish. Should be better for him this time around, especially if he's buying time by having these lings lure these zealots out into the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, the Zealots do have to be a bit careful. They want to make sure they defend that pro, but oh god, the pylon goes down in vision range of that Overlord. I don't know if Harstem actually noticed the Overlord over there. The Speedling's trying to move across the map, but look at this. This time, Harstem has not only that sentry prepared and ready to force field, but the pylon is on the inside. Like, there's very little surface area on that pylon. Not going to be super vulnerable this time.
Not at all.
Learning.
We're seeing some sentries thrown into the mix, but a lot of Zerglings, though. There are going to be enough force fields. Well, they're in a nice little crevice here that's going to be able to allow for those Zealots to have a fighting chance and not getting surrounded. So the Zerglings do have to back off. We're finally going to see some Roaches coming out for Bly soon. His Roach Warren did just finish. But he's going to mount a much stronger defense this time around, but will not taking a third delay him.
I honestly don't. I think that Harstem's already done the damage. I mean, look at how many Zerglings have been forced out. He's forcing out Roaches still, and guess what? Harstem, like, look at the way he's playing it out. He's just sitting at his proxy pylon. As soon as the Roaches actually come in over there, or as soon as he actually starts looking like he might lose some units, he just recalls out. He still has enough energy for a photon overcharge after the recall if he needs to, but he just continues to tech up. He's getting up his forge. He's taking his gas geysers. And I think this is actually going relatively well for Harstem right now.
Yep. Sometimes dealing with Zerg is not about actually killing stuff. It's just making
letting them do the damage to themselves.
Yes. It's like when the bully at school grabs the guy's arm and says, "Stop hitting yourself! Stop hitting yourself!" That's
Oh,
kind of what this is.
yeah, pretty much. Although the sentries over here getting a bit further away. The entire army for Harstem is pretty far away from the Mothership Core, but he keeps all those sentries alive. Very, very nice save over there. And he's
Oh,
going to be
you're so
moving
low
over the
health.
third. Oh, he could just right-click it. He could just right-click and go for the cancel.
We also see Bly trying to go after those sentries. Harstem knows he wants to keep these alive as best he can, but the roaches will be able to pick off one, a second. The third still alive momentarily. The Zealot's not doing anything, just stacked up in that crevice there. But we are seeing only orange units remain here. This hatchery may not stick around for too long.
That sentry going to continue to poke away at that hatchery. And the Zealot's finally adding in the extra damage. He kills off the hatchery. And Harstem looking to be in a good position. Even keeps that Mothership Core alive a little bit longer, but he has done more than enough damage. He's taking a third behind this. That is a ballsy move.
Oh, it certainly is. And with the recall able to save the remaining Protoss units, and this time around things have gotten a lot better for Harstem than they did in the game 2. And you know what? As far as Harstem's concerned, okay, you're going to take your third late to hold off my 4-gate. Well, I'll just kill your third when you finally make it. And he's completely happy about that.
Oh, he is more than content to just do that. But Bly is going to try and put on some counter pressure. I mean, there are more zealots and sentries than there are. I mean, sorry, this is more like just straight up sentries than there are roaches. I think that the sentries alone could have taken on that army. I think that even maybe the stalkers and some micro could have taken on those roaches.
We are seeing now a switch to Muta, or at least an attempted one. There's a Spire that's about halfway done. But without 3 base eco, it's not... Yeah, it is scouted by that hallucinated Phoenix. And I don't know how many of those he's going to be able to get out. We'll see. He is starting to save up some gas, it looks like. And how well that Muta transition, or I guess initial Muta's doing damage, how well that works for him will be a major determining factor in how the game will play out. Because right now, Harstem is ahead. He's looking real strong here. 66 workers to 56. He's ahead in overall supply. That's not the way it's supposed to be in ZVP. Zerg is generally supposed to be ahead.
Especially when most of that supply is in roaches. But Burrow's finished up. Observer is on the way, and I don't mean it's building. I mean it's physically on the way to the location of those burrowed roaches. Gonna be there very, very soon. Harstem should be able to deal these roaches. The roaches are burrowing to try and save themselves, but here's where they start getting picked off, and the force shields from Harstem have been super on point so far.
Absolutely, and he still has more to spare here. A lot of sentries going for him. He's researching Blink as well, and that's going to be great if Mutas start popping out for Bly. But it looks like for now, Bly is still putting his resources into roaches and larvae as well. So we're not going to see Mutas for a bit here. That threat is not really existent for Harstem at the moment.
Yeah, and with 4 more warp gates finishing up, we're going up to 8. And Harstem's going to be able to really put on the pressure over here because, as you said, the Spire's finished up, and guess what? Bly has to make roaches instead of Mutalisks right now to just try and defend. He has no thoughts about aggression right now. And Stalker's going to be finishing up Blink, and I think as soon as Blink finishes up, he starts Blink up to the high ground. He starts harassing that third. I want to note, harassing the third because Bly's effectively on a 2-base economy right now.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's trying to get up a 4 base, but he's only on 56 workers right now, so that's not really even 3 base saturation, much less 4. But we are going to see these roaches. Where are they going? They're not trying to defend against this army, and Harstem's wondering, where is everything? He didn't go kill that third. He's just kind of sitting here, waiting to recall?
Yeah, I don't know. He's got a recall. I mean, that's a definite.
Yeah.
But I think that this is going to still work out okay for Harstem. He's going to be able to chase down these roaches. The roaches will do some nice damage, but there's no escape for them. They know that they have to fight because if they try and run like he's doing right now, he's just going to get blunk on and take even more damage.
I'm still confused as to why he didn't just go ahead and kill that third. He was kind of just sitting there for like a few seconds doing nothing. You could have just sniped the third and then recalled, but I don't know. We do have these zealots doing good damage though on this 4th base, killing off some drones, forcing the rest to run away. And really, Harstem is taking this lead and padding it. Yes, the supplies are pretty even overall, but there is a huge lack of workers for Bly right now. Even if these roaches are in good numbers, once they die off in a big battle, it's not going to be that easy to replace them without a good economy.
Yeah, I mean, just number-wise, the only thing that Bly is actually sitting up on is army supply, and that's because it's roaches. Roaches are not supply-efficient units. So, I mean, we got more workers for Hearthstone. We got uh basically more like better tech. We got better upgrades. We got observers out for Harstem. He's got sentries with a lot of energy. He's already popping Guardian Shield very, very early on for some reason, but he's even got the. I think that there's just so many things working in Harstem's favor. Bly has got to make a miracle engagement happen to make sure that he's not just die over here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bly is trying to maneuver his roaches around. They're almost just they're kind of flailing there in the left side of the map. Like there's really nothing here for you. But I think he's trying to bring them to deal with these blink stalkers that are being very
Yeah.
pesky.
Oh, I think that may have been a bit of an overcommitment over there. I mean, the entire army is going to be so far on the left-hand side now. It just gives Harstem the golden opportunity he needs to finally move in and pick off that third, something that I think he wanted to do earlier, but actually, he may even just go for the fourth at this point. Yeah.
Hey, why not do both? But no, he's not doing both. There are some mutas out now, but there's a lot more blink stalkers.
Yep. Exactly. And
Oh,
he's
man.
gonna be able to probably kill off the natural expansion and then recall? Where is the mothership?
Mothership's at
Oh,
home.
Mothership's back at
defending a
home,
third.
actually.
Yeah.
So this could do some nice damage.
Potentially. Yeah, there's a lot of roaches here. No recall means that, well, Harstem's going to have to rely on Warpins here to defend, as well as his Photon Overcharge, but the third is going
Yeah.
to go down. But still, if this is an attempt at a base race by Bly, it's a lot harder for him, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm actually starting to wonder about this. Okay, so the problem is Harstem is starting to stabilize a little bit back at home. Like he's starting to kill off some of these roaches for Bly, whereas Harstem just has the bigger army. Now, maybe if Bly can escape with some of these drones, because he does have Burrow. I want to note that he has Burrow and he has Mutalisk, which are actually pretty good in base trades. He still
Yes.
has an opportunity to make this work. So I'm not going to count him out yet, but it's looking grim for him right now, especially with +3 weapons finished up for Harstem.
Yeah, that natural did just go down, but is that going to be enough? There's still a lot of structures here. Harstem is out of bases. He's just down to extractors. And while he does have... Oh, he just built a new hatchery somewhere. Did he? I saw 300
No,
disappear
he's
from his
not.
coffers, but what did he just make right now? Oh, another extractor, I guess?
Did a hatchery die?
Maybe. I just saw his minerals go down by 300, and I don't see a hatchery anywhere. Oh, he
well, this
queued
is
it up.
actually a
He queued it
problem.
up. He
Oh,
queued it
okay,
up.
okay.
Yeah, that's what happened. Okay,
Very
so
dangerous. Yeah.
indeed. But right here, the
Uh,
bulk of the
I don't
army from
like
Harstem's
this.
back. What, the
Yeah,
Roach
I don't
Burrow?
think-
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, engaging over there with all the roaches and beetles. I think he had to because the observer was there, but GG gets called. Harstem gonna be able to finally put his name on the scoreboard.
Yes.
1 and 2, but still got a long road ahead of him. It was a bit of a weird game. Harstem was ahead for quite a bit after the early aggression, so maybe that is his ticket to winning versus Bly. But got to make sure that he doesn't get into like those weird situations because you never know with those kind of weird like base trades. Imagine if there were a couple of extra drones further out on the map. Imagine if Bly picks off that observer, and now the roaches are actually uncontested. You pick off the observer in the robotics facility, suddenly the roaches are just stopping you from mining or taking bases for a very long time. The mules start moving around. You get into a very, very awkward situation. So I think you guys just got to be careful about those situations.
Yeah, definitely. I also do wonder if perhaps had Harstem brought the mothership core with his army, this would have not been
Yeah.
as dangerous. Because the thing is, like, he should have known that those roaches were kind of out there wandering in the distance, that they were likely going to go for the base race. So, you know, if he brought the mothership core with the army, he could recall and not have this become this close. I mean, not that it was that close, because I think the base race was going to be won by Harstem, you know, pretty handily, but still, like, did it have to get to that point? I don't know.
Yeah, indeed. But with that being said, Harstem gonna be moving into game number 4 versus Bly. see if you can take the series. I want to remind everybody that there are some awesome things happening over on hitbox.tv/Team Gravity. If you want to actually click on through, if you're watching this on Team Liquid or somewhere else, be sure to click on through and you can see all the awesome images, emotes, etc., and all the stuff happening in the chat, as well as actually the voting, which, is still sitting at 58.8% in favor of Harstem, people thinking that he is going to be able to take the series. So a lot of people got faith that Bly is not going to be able to take that final game, that Harstem will be able to secure the victory eventually.
Well, this is fight night, and what happens here a lot is someone falling down 0-2 and making it work the next 3 games in
The
a
fight
row.
night curse.
Yep, so we'll see. Even in those 2 losses from Harstem, well, the first game wasn't very good for him. The second game, there was, something he could build off of, and that was the 4-gate timing on 2 base. It did good damage. It was just one mistake that really sank him. So in game 3, he really built off of that and was able to put together a complete game. So we'll see if that momentum can carry into game 4 for him and he can tie things up, or will Bly be able to finally find out a way to really hold this 4-gate pressure outright and then just close out.
Indeed. Only one way to find out whether that's going to end up happening. Which way will it end up going? Let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players. As we spawn down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, we have the map Expedition Lost is the orange Protoss player. Sitting down 1-2, but looking for that comeback, it is Fnatic Gaming's Harstem.
And on the upper right-hand side of Expedition Lost LE, it is his map of choice finally, as he did lose the previous game, and he's the Blue Zerg playing for Team Acer. It is Bly.
By the way, Gamer McBaggin saying he was hoping that I would change from Team Liquid colors to Fnatic in support of Harstem. But I will say, even though I don't have a Fnatic shirt on, I'm using 3 Acer monitors right now.
I'm using an Acer monitor right now.
There we go. There we go. So I got some support over there. But this drone over here from Acer's Bly, it's been a bit sneaky. It's been a little bit of a sneaky guy. It's a drone from a Tom Clancy novel, maybe.
Yeah. You think proxy hatch? I mean, that's the only thing.
I've gotta think it.
That's right? The only thing that he can do. Why would he just patrol in the very corner of this base, right?
Oh, huh. So, okay, there's also a spawning pool and a gas geyser going down first for Bly. So if he does go for the proxy hatch, it's going to be a bit further delayed, but Harstem might not be expecting it. Even if he doesn't see the natural expansion, he may just think that this is some sort of weird speedling attack. So, I don't know. I guess he won't really see the spawning pool until it's completed, and there's the hatchery going down. But yeah, Harstem may not react properly to this. He may just kind of go for the wall off and be prepared for the big attack. But he may not be expecting the actual reinforcements to coming in from his actual main base.
Well, I think what may have just bought him a little bit of time is when the probe first arrived. Now it sees nothing there. But when the probe first arrived, there was a drone coming out like, oh, hey, I'm going to build my expansion now. And then, you know what? I bet Bly was hoping, like, please chase after that drone and try to deny the natural I'm never building. Because then the probe would have, it would be understandable for Harstem to not see an expansion go down just yet, right? Now he knows. Yeah, now he knows because he had to scout his base, seeing there's still no natural. There's a lack of drones in the base.
I don't think that's enough probes. I think this hatchery is still going to finish up, and he's going to get some larvae over there, which means that he's going to have some Zerglings in the main base. The hatchery won't be able to build a queen or anything, but I mean, you have to also remember that there are some Zerglings streaming in from the main base, and they might be able to do a little bit of damage, but actually, I don't know. I think this is actually looking okay for Harstem, maybe.
Well, he did just lose a probe, having to pull them to defend against these 3-lings. The hatchery did finish. Burrow's being researched right now. This mothership core does not quite have enough for photon overcharge yet, so it's going to have to be some probe micro gymnastics here.
all
and
of
he
the
loses
Zergons
two.
just get picked off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And look at this. He's gonna get ready for these Zergons. They're gonna pop out of these eggs. Or sorry, the roaches are gonna be popping out of the eggs. And I
Oh.
don't think that they're gonna be able to do too much.
Well, they are. How many are? Five are being made, but how many eggs are here?
There's only 2 over here.
Yeah, there's only two. So, yeah, they're not going to do too much. The other three are at home, and those are definitely not going to make their way down here anytime soon.
Yeah.
But
If you had
can pick
3,
off
that
some
would actually
probes
be
here.
ideal. Yeah. If you had 3, that'd be perfect, because then you could start one-shotting these pros, but
Yeah.
a couple of probes go down. Burrow, this is actually where it starts to get interesting. Burrow's finished researching for Bly. He's going to be able to keep these roaches alive for quite a bit of time, but Robotics facility is on its way, so he will have an observer relatively soon.
Yeah, and to be honest, if things got really desperate for Harstem just because of these two
Yeah.
road roaches, he does have photon overcharge. I mean, it'd be kind of a waste on 2 roaches, but
Yeah.
it's better than losing probes, which he just lost another one.
Yeah. And yeah, I gotta say also, like, Bly doesn't have a natural expansion, so he's doing some nice damage over here. He's being very annoying. And actually, this is a great way that he could maybe use that photon overcharge, because now that there are a large number of these roaches, you start trying to focus fire down some of these roaches, but the observer is going to be popping out relatively soon. And once the observer pops out, this kind of roach burrow micro not going to be working out nearly as well. Although I gotta say, Bly's doing a good job. He's got the worker lead now, but he still doesn't have an expansion. Harstem can double produce probes.
Well, just as you say that, he just started that hatchery. Is it going to finish in time, though, so that Bly can get back into the macro hunt? Well, the roach numbers are falling here. There's just 2 now, and it does look like Harstem has been able to withstand this harassment and is starting to double produce probes.
Yeah, it's important to note also though that Harstem is, even though he is not going to be able to do a good bit with it for a little while, he has the robotic facility. He's actually started getting some of his tech up in that regard. Whereas Bly, I mean, he's got a gas geyser, but he doesn't really have very much gas. He's not going to be starting lair tech anytime soon. He's trying to just spend all of his money into expanding in drones. Whereas Harstem, he's like the Protoss player. The Protoss player can go for his economy and also still have a little bit of money left over to get up some additional gateways, get up, some tech. And I feel like, he's going to have an opportunity to do some nice damage a little bit later on. There's going to be a small little window where Bly is not going to have his economy really in high gear from those 3 expansions just yet.
Nope. But at the same time, Harstem still needs to get up a little more production. He's throwing down these 2 gateways here. Is Sentry going to force field? It does. Just letting on in. And that Sentry gets picked off, though, unfortunately, for Harstem. As he is trying
really
to hold off.
that. Bly's
Yeah,
really
definitely.
good about picking off those stray units, those units that get a little bit lower on health.
Exactly. We're going to have a couple gateways finishing up here very soon. And, well, for now, though, Bly is starting to crawl back into it supply-wise, 52 to 44, even on the drone count. But once that 3rd finishes, we're going to see basically triple drone production with injects involved as well. So, basically, Bly is not going to be in the woods for too much longer.
Yeah, he also started trying to work on those backdoor rocks for Harstem. Harstem did notice it, so he managed to push those guys off with a single stalker for now. But it really does come. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where I feel like I may have been making it seem like Harstem is in a really, really good spot. I don't think it's an amazing spot right now. I think he's got an opportunity to do some damage. But as a Protoss player, when you're in one of these weird games, something I cannot stress enough is how in the dark you feel. Just think about it. He's been using his sentry energy and everything to try and go for force fields to make sure he's not dying. He's been not using his observer to just send it across the map to get information. He's been leaving it at home because he's afraid of the burrow harassment. Harstem is very in the dark right now. And this is one of those things can cause a lot of problems, because if you allow your opponent to overgreed, or if you assume that your opponent's greedy and you go for a big attack that you overcommit to, you can lose the game very easily. Harstem needs to get some information.
Yeah, you want to talk about overgreed. This is kind of what we saw in the in our first series between Rhett and Moro. Of course, that was a TVZ, not a PVZ, but I mean, this is kind of what happened. Moro was playing in the dark, and Rhett was taking over the whole map as far as map control, and then he just went ahead and got an extremely early 4th and was able to get back into the game and then some. That's kind of what can happen here with Bly and Harstem if Harstem doesn't, step on it.
Hearthstone is trying to take that third expansion, and I mean, not even like going into game number or like the earlier series with Rhett and Morrow, but even game number one of this series, it was kind of that Harstem did a light bit of pressure, but then in the late game, things sort of just escalated. Bly started taking expansions very, very rapidly and was really able to just outproduce Harstem with the Mutals Corruptor stuff. But now we may end up seeing something similar if Harstem's not prepared for it. I mean, we already got Roaches in preparation, out and ready to try and deal with this big pressure play that Harstem's throwing out.
Yeah, we have a big Zealot Sentry composition here. Interestingly, while we've had the Robo for so long, it's really mostly been used for the one Observer and a War Prism now. So I guess we could see a two-prong attack here from Harstem soon with these units on the left, sort of taking most of the attention from Bly. We also have a Ling run by heading to that third of Harstem, so we'll see how much damage that can do. They're just going to hang out here and try to take out some probes.
There's a hole in the force fields, and he ends up losing a couple of those sentries. The most important thing is actually not even just the fact that he lost one or two sentries, it's the fact that he used up every single force field almost.
Yeah.
And the aggression just instantly ended. He couldn't do anything once the force fields are gone. He's doing some nice harassment with the War Prism in the main base, but this attack is not going very well for Harstem.
It's taking out just a couple drones here and there, not a lot. He could potentially go after the Queen, but in anticipation of an arriving defense force, he decides to back off. And this fake Phoenix, though, looking like it's doing a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, Bly looking like he wants to go after those backdoor destructible rocks, which I think would be a really good decision just because Harstem's going to be very split up across all the different locations. Harstem does notice and he starts pulling his units back into the main base. Bly should be able to get up the ramp before the force field's over, be able to throw him down there.
Yeah, he will. There is just one immortal here. Very important that Harstem keeps us alive, but he won't. It's close.
Focus fire. One last rush shot. He gets it.
It goes down. That's huge. That's a huge pickoff. Immortals are so good against Roaches, the only 1-2 in this army. But now it's going to be Stalkers and Sentries. Burrow, not going to work out because of the Observer on the top of things. And, well, it looks like Harstem is going to be able to hold here as the Roaches back off.
Yep. Roaches do some nice damage and get out of there. They pick off a lot of the sentries and they pick off the Immortal. They pick off those tech units that are going to bring Harstem into the late game. Because I want to note, take a look at the structures that Harstem has. Where's the robotics bay? Where is the late game tech? Where is Temple Archives, Dark Shrine? They use some kind of late game tech. It's not there. And losing those high tech units, Harstem he's got to invest more. He just warped in another round of sentries because he knows he needs the sentries. That's gas that should have gone into a Temple Archives or should have gone into Robotics Bay. He's throwing down the Temple Archives now, but I'm getting a bit worried for Harstem. Bly is starting to kind of spiral a bit out of control now.
Well, the one saving grace for Harstem is that he just finished his +2 attack. That's going to help out what is a mostly army composition here. He does have Blink on these Stalkers as well. But yeah, it's going to definitely have to come down to some amazing force fields just to make sure that he can give his Stalkers some good room to attack.
Yeah, it's one of those weird situations, though, where Bly is now sitting on 5 bases. He's taking a 5th expansion right now. And they're on opposite sides of the map. So if Harstem goes for aggression, he has to not only kind of like do well in whatever engagement happens, he has to be able to take out multiple bases to really even things up right now. Because if he takes out one expansion, Bly is actually going to probably be okay with that. As long as he's not losing a lot of drones, he's going to be okay losing an expansion. Harstem, if he goes for the big aggression, again, he doesn't have that big follow-up just yet. So I think that it's going to be difficult for Harstem to find how to do the damage here.
No, those hallucinating Phoenix spreading out across the map locates where the army of Bly is, and these Roaches are trying to head around the right side to get at that
cannon.
Yeah,
Cannon City.
Yeah, and
I love this actually.
That's the thing about Expedition Lost. The third is actually kind of far away from everything and more difficult to defend. And you know that Harstem's afraid of run-bys. Speaking of which, one's happening right now. These Lings heading into the main. These Mutas as well, going after that 4th. Denying it, forcing the cancellation. There are 3 cannons in here, though, in the main base. Harstem's certainly not afraid to utilize those.
Yeah, Photon Cannon is going to be very, very strong versus all these counterattacks. And look at this. Bly is going to go for a counterattack over the third. This is where Cannon City is just going to buy him the time he needs. He even gets the Stalkers underneath all of these Mutalisks. He blinks underneath them, kills off a couple more, and now the attack is going on over the third, but the cannons are buying so much time for him to start retreating on home.
Yep, and then of course the defensive warpins as well, going to allow him to get some more stalkers over here. But actually, they're not being warped in at the third. Oh, now they are. But still, that's not going to be enough. The rest of the army does need to come home here for Harstem to have a fighting chance because the cannons are starting to go down in number. There's still a lot of mutas as well for Bly, but that's a lot of stalkers. A lot.
Here's the thing. Right now, Harstem just traded a bunch of mineral. I want to note that he's not trading army supply that he's going to have to reproduce. It's going to take him a while to reproduce. He traded minerals and 0 army supply to kill off a ton of Bly's army supply. So even though he doesn't have a 4th expansion right now, he has a critical mass of stalkers, immortals, sentries. He's going to go for the big attack. This is his big window of opportunity. And remember, he is at match point. He cannot afford to lose this game or he loses the series.
Well, it looks like what we have here may be another base race situation. That's kind of what happens a lot with mutas because they cannot take on a gateway army easily, so they just avoid the head-on fight. And that's why we have all these mutas down here while Harstem's in the face of Bly back at home. And so, yeah, it's another classic base race, potentially one that can end the series. These mutas having a ball, so are the stalkers at the top.
Yeah, oh my god, I love what Harstem is doing. I mean, it's a little bit of a risk, it's a bit of a gamble, but he uses these 3 immortals and he knows these guys can take out bases insanely fast, so he just goes and leaves them over in an expansion and take them out as quick as possible. Because if this is a base trade, right now, with all of the cannons he has over at his 3rd expansion, I don't think he's really worried about not losing that expansion right now. He's just trying to buy himself as much time as possible. And he can actually just go for buildings. That's what he's doing right now. The stalkers are going over to the 4th expansion. There's only 2 hatcheries left.
Yeah, I mean, the time is running out for Bly here, and he has so many cannons to contend with. I don't see him winning this base race. I really don't. There's too many stalkers for mutas to go with a head-on fight. That's why this is a base race in the first place. Harstem pushing this to an ace match, I think.
There's only 2 probes left, so that is worth noting. There are a lot of minerals left over, though. And finally, Bly has found the little window to actually pick off that nexus. So there's not going to be any mining for Harstem. But there's just so many buildings. I don't know how he does it. There's even 2 Archons now that Harstem has in his main base.
Yeah, we're seeing some desperation extractors going up. Bly still has quite a few minerals to work with.
Oh!
And drones as well. Drones. Yeah, 27 drones.
Oh god, and at least 10 of those drones are actually just going to be blocked from being able to do a whole lot because the Immortals are over there. Another hatchery trying to go up over here, but the Immortals are going to immediately spot this, take that guy out, and oh, actually, no cancel on that either. That's a big deal. Bly's not going to get those minerals back.
Oh man, that is not good for Bly. It's the least that's just the last thing he needs. He still has 659 though, and still quite a bit of drones to work with. But these mutas, they're falling in numbers here, 15 now, and there's only so much they're going to be able to do when there's this many stalkers out on the map with Blink, with +3 attack.
They find another one of the hatcheries. The cancel goes down on this one, so Bly saves a couple more minerals, but looks like a nice pick-off over here for Bly. He's going to find these Immortals in the top left-hand corner.
Yes.
Now, one thing I do want to note is that there is only that 1 Nexus left over. If these Mutalisks can make their way to the main base while the army is totally out of position and kill off the probes, doesn't matter if Harstem has enough minerals to make another Nexus or to make more buildings or make more probes. He just won't be able to because he doesn't have any more workers left over, but looks like that's going to be it. Final building gets killed off, and Harstem going to be taking game number 4. Game number 4.
Wow, another base race in this series, and Harstem is the victor of this one, and we're in ace match. This is fight night for you guys. 0-2 suddenly becomes 2-2. Yeah.
That fight night curse. Comeback is always real over here on Fight Night. And we promise we're not like rigging the matches. We're not like telling the players like, okay, now it's time for you to throw 2 games or something. Like they're actually just showing us some fantastic games. And I say it's a curse, but really it's a blessing. It's a blessing for all of us. It's a blessing for everyone except for the players.
Yeah, they have too much pride. I mean, and you know that these guys are all about the game here. As great as the money can be, they're just here to practice and put on
Mhm.
a good show. And so far, they have not disappointed, man. We're heading into an ace match, and it's go hard or go home time.
Indeed, we are. Guys, be sure to vote over on Hitbox who you think is going to win the ace match, game number 5. Only one of them can come out the victor, and only one of them can buy those 10 tacos from wherever, Chipotle or Taco Bell or wherever, with those $10. I know that
Yeah.
starting to feel pretty hungry.
And as you guys are making your decision in this poll, I'll give you guys a little bit of help here. The fifth map is going to be Infernal Pools, chosen by Bly. So make your decision perhaps based off of that.
Mm.
Uh,
Also, keep in mind, I mean, even though Bly is getting the map choice here, Harstem is starting to build up momentum, and momentum
yes.
cannot be discounted. Imagine the feeling, right? It's the feeling of you're up 2 games. You're 1 game away from winning. Even that game number 3 was kind of a weird game. You go for a bit of a risk, and it doesn't pay off. You're like, okay, I can bounce back from, like, I took a risk and I accept that the proxy hatchery didn't work out, and that's the reason why that's the reason why things end up not going so well. But losing like 2 games in a row like that, you were one
Yeah.
game away from winning. Now you're 1 game away from losing. It's demotivational. And Harstem is like went from, oh, I'm not feeling so good, to boom, baby, let's jump into game number 5. Time to crush the sucker one more time. Like, you're feeling good, you're feeling upbeat. You're feeling like you're taking selfies right now. Bly, he's gotta make some stuff happen.
Indeed, indeed. And on Infernal Pools, let's see if we're going to have a nice long macro game here. We saw Bly try something a little cute in game 4 with the Burrowed Roach, the proxy hatchery. Didn't ultimately pay off all that well for him. So let's see if he plays a little more conventionally here.
All right. Spawning up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, we have, in the orange Fnatic colors, Fnatic Games Hearthstone.
And on the bottom left, this player was up 2-0. Now suddenly the tables have turned, but he has one more chance to close this out. Will he become $10 richer at the conclusion of this game? It is for Team Acer, the Blue Zerg Bly.
I want to give a shout out also, since we haven't actually talked about it, but someone that you know fairly well, Droopy, Cybert, @1Cybert, does all those fantastic intros, those great intros that you see showing off the ages and all that other good stuff for the players. So big
Yeah,
shout out to @1Cybert on Twitter, and also co-cast with you.
yeah, that's right. I mean, had the pleasure of co-casting with Cybert for quite a few of these fight nights. We have had 10 of them, so definitely a lot of casters have been around. And really, Cybert's put up some great videos. He does also the Fight Night intro video. I don't know if we played that this today, but basically, his calling card is video production work. If you guys need anything for to prop up your events and make them look nice and professional, he's definitely a dude
Yeah,
you want to get
100%
in touch
recommend
with.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually use him for a lot of my own stuff, for something I do called Breaking Out. So he does a lot of the video production and transition and everything. The way that I like to phrase it is, everything that looks really cool about my show is all @1Cybert. And everything else that looks really shitty and all the mess ups are me. Because he's done a fantastic job with it. So huge shout out to him. And yeah, go follow him on Twitter.
Now, judging by this poll, it looks like the confidence in Harstem from the Peanut Gallery
Mm.
has only risen. 75% think he's going to take it. And you know what? I can't really blame them for thinking that. Momentum, as you explained earlier, is a huge thing for your dragon. And we'll see if Bly can fight against that here. He is opening up with an expansion here. Is that pool done? It is. So he went ahead and did a pool first expansion. Yeah, that's the timing of
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And one thing I want to note also, with just, it's something that we've talked about a lot, But the way that these games have always gone is whenever Hearthstone is able to be aggressive, he's able to get a nice lead. Even if, game number two, he ended up being aggressive and he got a nice lead, but he ended up losing it because of the Zergling run by that we kept talking about so much. He's able to get ahead. And I feel like that has got to be the name of the game, especially on a map like Inferno Pools, which is quite frankly kind of hard to defend a third on. Like, just look at, you could try and take your gold expansion third. That's pretty far away. That's pretty
Yeah.
vulnerable. Try and take the third down below your natural. That's also really far away. I don't know. Like, I actually think that one of the best strategies I've seen on this map is go for like an Immortal Sentry bust with the Warp Prism, and you use that Warp Prism really quickly. You delay your push by like an extra 15 seconds, and you unload a probe over at the island expansion. You get ready to take an island base.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad idea. We haven't seen many Immortal Sentry plays here. Actually, we haven't seen any Immortal Sentry play
Oh,
here from Harstem. Couple of pylon orbs going down here.
mhm.
Maybe an attempt, perhaps, at a cannon rush. But the third is
I
about to
think that
pop.
this was, yeah. I think that this was preparation for the 4-gate. He was hoping that this wouldn't get scouted, because warp
Hmm.
gate technology is now finishing up, so he would have been able to warp in over there. He's gonna have one of these pylons still available for the warp in. He managed to kill off that last Zergling with the mothership core. We'll see how much damage you can do with this 4 warp gate pressure. That's actually done him massive, massive
Yes.
amounts of damage in the previous
Yes.
games.
Yeah, I don't know what I was talking about. There is no forge, and this is about time for a four
Yeah,
gate
yeah.
on 2 base. So Zealots are going to go after that queen, take it out. Very nicely done there. And really, we're just looking at slowlings out of Bly for now until the roaches can pop. This is almost a repeat of game number
Oh my
2
God.
here, as far as the
All the
hatchery
queens are
potentially
dead.
going down. Yeah.
Every queen is dead. There's no larva injects either right now. There's not even queens on the way. This is actually going to be a huge problem because I mean, once Bly loses this third, I've got to say, like normally you think like, okay, well now it's time to drone up and get ready to defend, but Harstem may even be able to just continue the pressure here. He hasn't really lost too many units. He's lost one zealot. He can continue to probably warp in, maybe some stalkers. I guess with the roaches out, it's going to be hard to put on the pressure, but I mean, still, I feel like Bly is going to be missing out on a lot of larva injects, especially after losing that third. He's not going to be able to really spend a lot of that money, I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even if Harstem can't put on further pressure, I mean, he's already done so much damage. I mean, we still have yet to see Bly properly defend a 4-gate timing on 2 base. It's just
Yeah.
really been a thorn in his side this series, and in the ace match, it's proven to rear its ugly head again, losing that third.
Indeed, and the voting for Harstem goes up. He's up to 77% after a third hatchery snipe. I see you there in the chat, you person who waits until the game is 8 minutes in and sees like, oh, Harstem killed off the third with the 4-gate. I guess I'll vote for Harstem. I think that he's probably going to win the ace match. I see you.
No, this is not. No. See, this is not a player that or a viewer that's holding out. He actually just made the transition from the Team Liquid embedded stream over.
Oh,
And he had
there we
already
go.
made that decision beforehand on who he thought was going to win.
Oh, well, I think it's
These
looking even
roaches.
better after. Yeah, really great control over there from Harstem. He loses one of the sentries, but I mean, losing one sentry for 4 or 5 roaches is actually not the worst thing in the world given the situation right now.
And it is the worst thing in the world for Bly. I mean, you're already behind. The last thing you want to do is let those roaches meet that ugly fate. And the third finally finishes up for him. He's got the lair on the way as well, getting Burrow too. So it looks like he will commit perhaps to some of the ground units for now.
Is
But,
Harstem not gonna expand?
Take a third, that is?
saved the
Yeah.
minerals. Yeah, he is. Okay, finally, he is taking that third. I was kind of looking. I was like, he's been sitting on those 2 bases for a good period of time. He's not throwing down any tech. I could very well have just seen him say like, I just killed off enough roaches. Let's 8-gate it from here. The 8-gate follow up with the 4-gate, like beautiful, beautiful thing. But no, Harstem is a tried and true great player. He's gonna go ahead and go for the expansion. He's gonna do that light pressure. He's gonna poke out and say, okay, you can't sit around on 8 army supply. You gotta make some roaches, all right? I gotta make sure you're not just droning up and catching up with me.
You know, the interesting thing is if he did just go ahead and YOLO it with 8 gates, he could win. There is no roach
I think
speed
he
right
would
now.
win.
There's
I
no
think
roach
he
speed
would
right
win.
now.
Yeah. But why take the risk? You don't know whether your opponent's been heavily droning up or if they've been roaching up. And we do end up seeing that there are a large number of roaches now popping up. Great force fields over here from Harstem. He's going to be able to pick off these stray roaches. I don't know if he's going to be able to kill off this third again, but he's at least getting some nice damage done.
Yep, and Burrow is going to keep one or a couple of the roaches alive, and, well, looks like there was a recall that's going to happen here. Ooh, a couple sentries got picked off in the escape effort, and that was actually a lot better for Bly here.
Yeah, that definitely worked out well for Bly. It was a good defense from him, making roaches at absolutely the perfect time. But we'll end up seeing what Bly is going to be able to do about this third expansion. Because, I mean, it's a general rule. You want to make sure that you're, as a Zerg player, up an expansion on your opponent. Especially in the case of Bly, who sometimes likes to be 3 bases up on your opponent.
Yeah, in game 1, that is.
Yeah, but I will say that Harstem kind of doesn't have a lot of tech going for him right now. And that is something that's going to start weighing in as the game goes on.
Well, let's see how this goes on
Harstem.
here. Oh my gosh. This battle's not working out all that great for him. Sentry's expending a lot of force fields at the top, but Zealots are going to be able to warp in and chase those roaches back. But quite a few sentries were lost in this effort, I have to say.
Yeah, this is definitely working out once again fairly well for Bly. He's going to be losing a lot of these roaches, but I mean, these are roaches he made for the defense of the third. These aren't roaches that he needed immediately, like, to keep alive for some impending attack. I mean, what is Harstem going to do? Move out with his handful of freshly warped in sentries? No, Harstem's going to be waiting around for the robotic facilities, start cranking out some of those units, get out the Observer, get out the War Prism, finish up Blink. He's going to be waiting around for his economy and his warp gates and everything else to kick in. So Bly still has some time for this fourth expansion to get up, to start mining from it. And I think that this is starting to look a good bit better for Bly. He's even setting up a decent amount of supply.
Yeah, he's working on a 5th base right now, just started it. And Harstem, you know, he's still on his 3. We'll see if these roaches can do some further damage, but there's going to be some mutas on the way shortly, too. Aspire just finished up here.
Oh my God.
And that can be pretty annoying for Harstem in trying to defend his 3rd base.
Bly loves his Roach Muta transition, man. But the Roaches now moving in, trying to get some pickoffs. Not quite as good as some of the previous ones. He's able to kill off some of these sentries. The sentry's actually sitting at the front, not exactly where Harstem wants them to be. A bit of miscontrol over there. And Bly, he loses a lot of Roaches, but kills off a lot of sentries. Is it worth it? Maybe. I think it greatly softens up the power of the future attack Harstem was preparing for.
Well, we just look at units lost right now. It's actually very even between the 2 players. And that's something that, as Bly, you should be really happy with, because you lost that 3rd early on, and now you're up on 5 bases to the 3 of Harstem.
Oh my God.
I'd take even trades any day if I were in the Zerg's position.
Bly just has no fear in taking expansions. It's actually something I really am enjoying, seeing Bly just take expansions very, very rapidly. But the Mutals are now out. The War Prison Harassment in the main base is actually doing some nice damage. He's be able to kill off the Queen, killing off a decent number of the drones. The Mutals should be able to kill off the Zealots as well as the War Prism, but I think the damage has actually been done over here by Harstem. Pretty nice job over there.
Yeah, the lair suddenly looks a lot more empty as far as mining going on there. And we see Harstem now up on workers, but he needs to take a 4th. And it's hard. It's really hard to take a 4th. You talked about a 3rd being hard to take on this map. Just look at the locations of possible 4th bases. I mean, let's not even talk about this game. Let's look at the previous game. How many cannons Harstem had to get up just to secure his expansions from run-bys?
That's what I'm saying, Droopy. You load up a probe in the Warp Prism, you drop it at the island, and you have plenty of time before these Mutals come out to get up your good old cannons. You get up 5 or 6 cannons. What are these Mutals gonna do versus 5 or 6 cannons? There's no Roach or Zergling support at that island expansion. It's just you and the Mutalists.
Yeah, well, right now at that 3rd, it's just probes and the Mutalists. Not a good combination over here. It's Roaches on Stalkers. The Roaches will be happy to run away, because really the main attraction here for Bly is these Mutas doing some good damage on the right.
Yep. Couple more cannons being thrown down. Look at how much surface area he has to cover. I mean, these cannons are going down back on the right-hand side of the mineral line, but these gateways are going to be fairly vulnerable. The pylons are going to be vulnerable. Even the top side of that probe mineral line is going to be fairly vulnerable.
Yep, and we are seeing a Phoenix transition here for Harstem, just realizing that the Muta threat is real. Double Stargate too, I might add. So it's going to be... Yeah, Stalker Phoenix, interesting combo, but I mean it does call for that this game. But still no fourth until now. And being able to secure that is going to be a real tough
Oh,
challenge as the units of Bly are making their way over there.
yeah. And Bly is moving in. That fourth expansion immediately canceled. No way in hell that's going to be finishing up. And we'll have to see. The problem with going for Phoenix mainly for the defense against Mutalisk is when you don't have enough, you don't have an overwhelmingly large number to deal with the Mutalisk, you can't really rely on that kiting area. But, you know, you can, if you do have enough, you can go for the engagement over there. But the Roach is doing a lot of damage at this third.
Are they going to be able to take it out? They're focus firing on it right now. The cannons are doing great work against the Zerglings, and I think Harstem
I
will
don't
be able
think
to keep
so.
this alive. But
Yeah.
just think about one more flyby on this Nexus, and it will just collapse like a house of
Mhm.
cards.
Exactly. Uh, Mutal's able to chase or are being chased off by those Phoenix. So Harstem has done a really good job. I want to note it's actually pretty
Yep.
difficult to not only make sure you're microing over the third expansion, target firing the roaches and everything, making sure that your third expansion doesn't die, but also microing the Phoenix versus those Mutals. It's a really, really difficult challenge, and Harstem is taking it up very, very nicely. This game is actually starting to look pretty close.
Yeah, as great as Phoenix are against mutants, you can't just A move them. You have to kite.
Yeah.
And right now we are seeing those Phoenix do just that against the mutas. There are some corruptors being added into the mix now in response to the Phoenix. So that will help out Bly here in an upcoming battle. But he's going to back off from this Protoss army for now.
Mhm. Yep, I love what Harstem's doing. Just kind of getting between the bases right now. He's making that fifth expansion or that top left-hand expansion, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Bly's been taking expansions so quickly. I don't know which one he's been taking first. It's very vulnerable to the Zealot run by because he cut in between the bases. So any reinforcements or mutals that try to come in to defend it, they're going to get picked off by this army.
Oh my gosh, these Phoenix are going home right now, basically following this air army. But there's a lot of Zerglings that are making their way into the natural right now, and that can lead to a lot of economic damage done to Harstem, which he does not need because he's only mining on two bases. The main base is now completely mined out. No fourth being taken. Is this another base race? My goodness, I don't know. Half the units of Harstem are down on the bottom. Half of them are at top. What's going to happen here?
Well, we got a lot of cannons going up in the main base of Harstem. He knows how to base trade this out. He's actually trying to utilize these Phoenix. Actually, if you did not know, Phoenix with the Ion Pulse Crystals upgrade will outrange Corruptors by 1. It's a very, very difficult thing to micro, but oh, it's a lot easier if the Corruptors fly over the cannons.
My gosh, the cannons are always helping out so much in this base race scenario that we've seen time and time again between these two players. And while this is all happening, hurting Bly in the process, we have down here buildings falling one by one. The lair is now dead. All these gateway units with nothing to stop them. These Sky Zerg units are being boxed in by these Phoenix. Are we going to have another signature base race finish in Harstem's favor?
He needs to take out these tech structures. He needs to stop the production of additional units from Bly. Bly may have a lot of hatcheries. He may even have drones left over to mine from those gold expansions, etc. But if he can stop the units from being produced, I think that Harstem just has the better army. He's going to be able to stabilize this. I don't think that Bly can do anything about this expansion. GG gets called. Harstem gonna take the base trade and gonna take the series with the 3-2 victory, with
My
the
gosh.
3-0 comeback. A 3-2 comeback.
3 wins unanswered in a row, and that is yet
Wow.
another hashtag fight night finish for someone down 0-2. Fantastic job by Harstem, really being able to put things together after those two initial losses. And really, we were seeing signs of it, in game two. It was that one mistake, and he was able to build off of that. And so we
Yeah.
see 3 fantastic finishes from him here. So good job to him.